So now I'm gonna go straight into face sculpting. There are a lot of different versions of it now online. I find most of it to be too harsh. And I feel a good face sculpt is about accentuating the person's natural features, getting the skin to look great but more structured. So you're gonna go straight into it because as you guys know and I go on about it, skin prep is a huge part of how you do makeup, and I don't understand people who would do makeup without a good skin prep. I love sheet masks. They're an easy, quick way of getting moisture into the skin. They work good even if you have clients coming and a client isn't hydrated, etc. And what this does is it adds a lot of good hydration to the skin. A lot of people don't know this, but once you take off the mask, you can even keep the liquid on your face for longer by just kind of sealing it with moisturizer as opposed to removing it completely. But when we do makeup, we remove it because we're going to do primer, etc., whatever. So now it's been 10 minutes. I'm going to remove the mask from her face. And I would ideally leave this on and put on my moisturizer if I was just doing skincare. But because we're going to do makeup, I will wipe her face, but I'm keeping it on for a little while longer while I add something else to the skin, which is going to be our under eye patches. This is a Korean brand and I use them under the eyes to just hydrate and kind of lighten the under eye before makeup. So I'm just going to attach those under as well. This will just help us when we're trying to cover any blemishes, etc. A good thing to do also while someone's waiting with skincare on is to just do a little bit of a massage here, you know, and always towards the outer side of the face because all your lymph system is here, right? So when we pull like this, I'm just going to use my knuckles and pull up towards her ears to just get rid of the fluid. So now it's been about 5 minutes. I'm going to remove this from under her eyes and I'm going to wipe her face because like I said, to do makeup, I would remove this serum before I would do makeup. For skincare, you can keep it on, apply moisturizer. But I feel a lot of my primers and the other things that I'm going to apply on her face don't work as well if we have that liquid still on her face. Skin should look nice and dewy and glowy. In the 100 watt skin demo that you guys have seen, the skin was more naturally radiant. The sculpted look is going to be obviously more makeup, but you still want it to read nice and soft. You don't want it to read really heavy. Now I'm just going to use some rose water on her face. I like to do this for just extra hydration. So it's all about adding all that moisture. So if you see her skin even before we've started makeup, and if she just goes back and forth, you can see the skin has started to get that nice plump kind of an effect happening, which is what happens with good skincare. You want to take care of the skin before you start makeup because that's where the real basis of a good 100 watt skin lies, all right? Now I'm going to apply the Shuyumara Instant Glow Primer on her face. Right, so I'm going to take some, and this is a great product because it kind of adds a lovely sheen to the face, but it doesn't look like it's overkill. The other problem I have now is that people have used highlighter, they use too much highlighter. So if you see most people's face, it's like it's shining and it's almost metallic instead of looking nice and radiant. And the idea with highlighter is to never make them look like they're shiny. The idea is to make them look like the skin is nice and glowy. This is another primer I do love for that nice instant kind of radiance. I'm going to apply some on the neck as well. Never forget the neck and ears, any other area that's showing. She's wearing a high neck, so her chest is not showing. Otherwise, I would take it down to her chest as well. Wherever skin is exposed, we will apply it equally everywhere. So we've just nicely let that in. Now with primers, you don't want to rub them too much. They form matrices. This one is still more of a cream primer. So you can I've still kind of worked it into the skin more, but other primers that we use like the Urban Decay primers, a lot of the other famous primers, the more you rub them, the lesser they're effective. So the idea is to just swipe and let them be on the skin. So now her skin is nice and prepped, and as you can see, and I want to keep showing you at each step. Again, Rahima, just go back and forth. Already the skin is nice and kind of shiny here. So we're going to go straight into first our color correction. I'm going to mix some NARS and I'm taking it in honey. the Creamy Radiant Concealer in Honey. And I'm going to add a tad bit of the NARS NW45. So I'm going to keep putting it on my palette so you guys can see how much I'm taking. And I'm also going to take some Tarte Shape Tape in light medium and apply it to my palette here as well. So you can see these three colors. Now I'm going to take my MAC blending brush, the smaller one. I'm just going to mix it to create this color. And I don't like using orange color corrector or color correctors in general. I feel they're too heavy, again, add too much product to the face. I like to do it with concealers, something that I've discussed extensively in the course as well. So we're going to blend this now and look up. Wherever I see discoloration, which is under her eye here, and if you can see the motion, it's just small circular or swipes, okay? It's a little darker than her tone of skin because we are trying to cover pigmentation. So the rule of thumb is that with pigmentation, you want to go a little darker when you're doing your color correction so that it gets covered properly. Even on top of her eye, there is discoloration here, and do the same on the sides of her forehead. A lot of people go out in the sun and not wearing enough sunscreen or just generally being in the sun directly causes sun damage around the forehead. So you'll generally have pigmentation happening there as well. And you can see that the color is a little darker and it's almost like a peachy tone. So on a skin tone like hers, we'll go more peachy. We can go more bisque, lighter. When the color is lighter, then we go more bisque, and we go more orange when the skin tone is deeper. So for her, a peach is fine. Now I'm going to take some of my Hollywood Flawless Filter. I use this quite a bit. I have a little bit of primer because this is less like a primer. Like I said, the Shuyumara is almost like a cream. I'm going to add some Stay Naked foundation in 30 cg on top of that. And then I'm also going to take a little bit of the 50 WY Stay Naked foundation, mix that, a pump of that also. And on top of that, I'm going to mix some of my Becca Backlight priming filter. This again is a primer, but it is more like an illuminator, which is why I'm mixing it into the foundation. You wouldn't do this with the regular primers, but you would do it when you are using this one because it's more like an illuminator. And start applying it to Rahima's face, right? So I'm going to use this brush to kind of apply and then use my beauty blender to really blend it into the skin. So I'm going to take a damp beauty blender. I always take a damp one. So you kind of put it into water, you squeeze the excess so it's slightly damp, and you're going to turn here. And I'm going to start kind of working it into the skin. If you see my motion, it's very soft kind of dabs. I'm not swiping. A lot of people do this and then you kind of remove the product. The idea is to press, press, press like that. Really create a veil of color, guys, because the idea is for skin to look nice and radiant even when you're doing heavier makeup. So just kind of adding that nicely to her face to kind of create one color on her face. We're going to go towards her hairline. She has a few baby hair here, but make sure you're going right to the hairline because any patch of skin with no foundation then reads differently. We're also going to do her ears because remember, they are also a part of the face, her lower neck. So this particular area is important as well because on the sides of the nose, a lot of times people miss doing foundation. And if you see the veil of color I'm applying to her skin is very natural looking. We want to keep it nice and soft and natural because I want her to read like it's her own glowy, gorgeous skin that we are doing makeup on as opposed to a mask. I'm going to use Born This Way in Light concealer, Born This Way concealer in light. I'm going to take some on my palette here. I'm going to blend that onto my sponge and go under her eye now and on top of it as well. So the first concealer mixture we made was all about color correction. Now it's about brightening this area. So if we had gone straight into this concealer without the color correction, you would have a gray kind of a cast on her. But now because we have applied that color corrector, that will not happen. I'm also going to add it here on top of her lid, just buffing it softly. And if you see up till now, none of the areas on her face look like they have excessive product on, and that's what we ideally want to achieve even when we're doing more makeup on someone. I'm just applying the same color a little bit around her mouth also. So I'm going to take some of my NW45 here, which is the Prolong Wear Concealer. I do a lot of my sculpting in liquid. I don't use cream contouring. So I'm going to take some on my brush again. Rahima, can you do this for me? So we just going, this is an easy way of kind of seeing where the cheek tends to be, or the hollows of your face you can feel with your finger as well. And that's just a guideline for everybody who's watching, because people tend to usually ask me where it is, and it's always, you can almost feel it. It's where the hollow of your cheek will be, is where the line will be drawn, and then you have to shade upwards, right? So I'm going to take my damp beauty blender and I'm going to start working it in immediately before it dries. So just with the same beauty blender that I did the foundation with, I'm just going to start kind of working that into her skin. One of my principles of makeup is layering. It's all about layering it one by one, as opposed to adding too much the first time, to just slowly build it up. Just under the chin here. And always make sure that other than going under the chin, you're also bringing it slightly lower. So you're creating a shadow, and I'm going to blend this under her cheek, her chin as well, here. And I'm going to use this to now create her lines for the nose. So this is another thing that people always ask me about. Why do you always connect it to the eye? Because you've seen my Insta tutorials, etc. Because every structure needs to be connected somewhere. So we are going to go into her socket here. As you can see, this is the line, right? So I'm going to draw the line here. That's her socket, and I'm going to bring it down towards her nose like that, creating that line in the socket. And again, people ask, where is my socket? You will see, if you look straight, Rahima, the socket is the part in the middle of the eye where there is no there's no eyeball, there's no bone, because up here you have bone, here you have the eyeball, in the center you have this hollowness. That is the socket. Okay, you can feel it when you're trying to do your own makeup as well. I'm going to go both ways like that and bring it down, and then also do the tip of her nose, because it also has to become, it has to end somewhere, because sometimes people tend to draw both the lines but they don't close. I feel this is where it kind of shuts and the shape is kind of finished, and people tend to forget this. So always remember to do the tip as well. Now I'm going to, right next to it, add some Tarte Shape Tape Light Neutral, because it's all about offsetting the dark with the light, right? Makeup is a play between both. This is a MAC eyeshadow brush, applicator brush, but I use it for my more delicate kind of highlighting and contouring. I'm gonna create the center and on the sides as well, guys. So a lot of people do the center but they forget the sides. The sides will also help in making that nose look narrower. And I'm also going to add this band karna right at the center of her lid. So in this particular tutorial, I'm also showing you guys how to do makeup with just concealers and foundations. This is a great way of creating a look that doesn't require any other makeup, but just concealers and powders and foundations, because there's so much color range in them as well, especially in the browns and the lights. If you can turn here, Rahima, band karna. Right, so I'm creating her inner eyeball socket here. That should be lighter because it's an area that's protruding. So for all areas that are protruding, we're going to add lighter colors, and for all areas that should go in, we're going to use darker colors. Just blend exactly where they are. Don't mix the contours. Just where we've done the placement, I'm just mixing those colors. So where they meet, where the light meets the dark, we start blending that. Blend that. Can you see the structures being created? But again, very softly. We've even added some color to her eye, and no eyeshadow etc. has done it. Just with your own concealers and highlighter, the concealers and the contouring liquids that we're using, you have created a kind of depth on the face. Now I'm going to go in with slightly a lighter concealer, and I'm going to use my porcelain beige here, and I'm going to mix some of my Charlotte Tilbury retoucher in medium. So I'm going to just paint some on the palette, mix both of them, and start creating a liquid highlighter that's slightly stronger for under the eye area. So I'm going to kind of apply it under the eye area. Always remember, it shouldn't be in a semicircle, it should be almost in a patch like a triangle. And I'm going to press this right under the eye again to create lightness. We're going to do the same to the center of the nose. and the middle of her forehead. Just gonna buff this in a little bit more. Now I'm gonna go with the same mixture under this contouring line as well. So just here we're gonna blend the slightly lighter concealer as well, because we're trying to accentuate this contour line, and then use the same in the center of the neck as well, because remember, you're also trying to accentuate all the other areas that are showing. So the accentuating this with the lighter color means that the neck will also look like it's more smaller, more refined. And just now I'm buffing the rest of the areas to make sure that it's all looking like it's blended well together and more seamless. Right, now I'm gonna go in with my eyebrow brush, because that's a very sharp contour, natural contour on the face as well. So before we get into the further highlighting and contouring the face, I'm gonna first brush up her brows. I love a thick brow. I like to keep them very natural when people walk in with thicker brows, or tell them to grow it out, because I think that looks most youthful. And I'm just gonna first create darkness in the areas where there are gaps on her eyebrow. So around the corner area here, just under here as well. And remember my strokes, the reason why I love this pencil is that you can actually create hair-like strokes. So I don't like those Instagram brows painted on to perfection kind of blocks. So now I'm going to take some of my Becca's Backlight priming filter again, and I'm going to mix it with my Charlotte Tilbury's Flawless filter in number 2 on the palette here. I'm going to take my sponge, and this is to just add radiance onto the skin. So I'm going to dab it on the cheeks here, and then here as well. So it just gives a really nice radiance softly to the skin, and just center of the neck also, because like I said, don't forget all the high planes. And I'm going to add the lighter color here. These are the 2 lighter colors on the palette. I'm just taking it on my beauty blender only. And I'm going to add this right under her eye. So going up to the side of the nose also, wherever you applied the highlighting colors, we are going to go ahead and now apply this mix of 2 powders from the palette. I'm going to take my bigger beauty blender for the areas that are bigger. So I'm going under her contouring powder here as well, just slightly on the edges there. I'm not going to go where I applied the shine, just around here, and then the center of her mouth as well. So I'm going to take a MAC brush here. I'm going to mix both of these colors on my brush as well, and I'm going to apply them in the center of her lid to create a really nice soft kind of a matte effect on the eye, because I want you guys to see how one would create a makeup look with just your highlighting and contouring powders and liquids. Now I'm going to take an eye blending brush, and with that go in with this middle color, contouring color. I'm just going to create a stronger brown here. We already have the guideline because of the liquid that we did, just going in and creating it slightly stronger. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to mix both of these, dust it off a little bit, also go sides of the nose also here, and then turn that side a little bit, and then under the jaw here as well. Right, once I've done this, again I'm going to go back in with my beauty blender and just, especially the nose where it attaches to the eye, just dab it again, because we do want it to seem structured but soft. Another area I'm going to add some of the lighter is just the brow bone here. Don't forget the brow bone. That is also an area one would highlight, right? And just in the beginning of the eye where the tear duct is, I'm going to apply some extra here just to add that lightness. Now I'm going to take my Pat McGrath highlighter, which is one of my favorite highlighting trios because it doesn't read as very shimmery. I feel it has a lovely kind of softer shimmer because I think thicker shimmer reads too much. So I'm going to mix gold and this particular white. I tend to feel this gets too light. I use this on my fairer brides and clients, but mostly for a skin type, this gold is beautiful. So I'm going to make her smile a little bit, and look this side. I'm going to smile a little bit, and just where the light is naturally hitting her high planes here, I'm going to add a little bit of that. I'm going to apply some on the tip of her, just where her lip is, and just one, almost like a smidge of it here, just slightly, and then some in the middle of her neck here also, right? And then I always tend to buff it with my sponge, yeah, because you want it to look like it's not sitting on top of the skin, but is actually absorbed and has gone further in. So by doing that, what happens is that the particles tend to get flatter, so they look more natural. And just like that, I'm going to take some blush just to the apple of her cheek. I'm going to add some of that color, but going slightly further up like that, because it's a more structured, more angled look. So I'm just taking it further up a little bit, and then again I'm going to go ahead and dab my beauty blender on top of it. So I make them smile, so you can push it into their cheek, because the cheek becomes taut, and then you can push it on the cheek. Now she already has a great lash, so I'm going to use my eyelash curler and curl her lash, and I tend to pump it 1, 2, 3, you know. I'm using the Benefit Bad Gal here. And now on her lower lashes, I'm going to use the Maybelline Great Lash Mascara. This tends to smudge less. I feel the Benefit Bad Gal tends to smudge a bit underneath. Now I'm going to take my Spice lip pencil with Spice, which is one of my favorite all-time colors. I think it's anyone who's in the makeup industry or does makeup knows of the color and uses it. Just stretch like this. Open your mouth and like smile. So always make them stretch a bit. It makes it easier for you to shape the lip better. Right, so I'm just going to apply the color all over her lip. And then I'm going to go in with my Modesty lipstick by MAC. Again, it's an earthy color, and if you can smile for us, Rahima, keep smiling. She has a nice full lip. Just going to paint that. And I'm going to go on top of it with my Myth lipsticks. So in the center, I'm adding Myth, which is again a very soft, it's one of my lipsticks that I use to soften any color. So it's one of those colors that really can soften any pink, brown, whatever color you choose. And then I'm going to go in with my light medium Tarte Shape Tape to clean around the lip. Do a big ah, Rahima. Make sure you get those outer edges also, so when she speaks, so when she opens her mouth, you don't have gaps. Right, so I'm going to take some of my light medium now on my palette, and I'm going to clean around her lip with a flat brush. So now I'm taking the Bobbi Brown palette here, and this is Saddle and Mahogany. These are eyebrow colors, and I'm taking Mahogany on an angled brush, and I'm just going to create a little more drama where her eyebrows are concerned. Right, and now I'm going to take my setting powder, Laura Mercier, take some on my sponge alone, and then just go under her eye a little bit, because this is an area where lines can potentially set. So we're just going to set it further with our setting powder. I'm not a fan of baking as such. I tend to feel that the entire face starts to look very powdery. I feel just if you add the right products in the right layers, you don't need excessive baking. But I do set my makeup because I think that's very important. So I'm going to take a fan brush now, dip it in my Laura Mercier, and instead of a using my beauty blender now on the rest of her face, wherever I feel I need it. I'm just going to very faintly apply it. Right, I'm going to add a little bit of a gloss to her lips, so I'm going to use Huda's Angelic Lip Strobe here, because I do love, even when it's a structured look, a slightly kind of a glossier feel to the makeup, and this will finish that in a lovely way. Now I'm going to use my Anastasia's Dewy Set, so we're going to kind of add that dewiness on top also. And then I do always tend to seal the makeup with, and I'm going to use Makeup Forever's Mist and Fix. So close. And we're just going to let these dry for 2 minutes. So as you can tell now, the face is nice and structured. You can see a nice strong sides of her face. You can see contour lines that are nicely blended, but you're not seeing stark, harsh lines on her face, which is what I prefer. At the same time, her face is structured and looking nice and sculpted, but it still has that gorgeous glowiness happening, which is what we always want when we do makeup. I have not taken over it with a lot of excessive makeup, which one can do. So this is what a good face sculpt would look like. Hoping you guys can recreate this now for me and you understood the concepts that I was trying to teach you.